The one who starts late has to run twice as fast. If you've ever looked around and realized you're not where you should be, you know the feeling. You see other people moving ahead while you're still trying to get started. It's not a good feeling. It's heavy. It's frustrating. And it makes you wonder if you'll ever catch up. But here's the truth. You can catch up, and you can even get ahead, but only if you stop wasting time right now. From today, every single hour matters. You can't move at the same slow pace as everyone else. You've got to push harder, stay focused longer, and use your time better than you ever have before. No excuses, no waiting. You either close the gap or you stay behind. In this talk, I'll give you the clear, practical steps to run faster, work smarter, and take back control of your life, starting today. Are you ready? Chapter 1. Admit you are behind and face it without excuses. You know deep down when you're behind. You don't need anyone to point it out. You can feel it when you wake up and realize you're not where you should be. You can sense it when you compare your progress to the goals you once set. You can see it in the way time keeps passing, yet the results you hoped for haven't shown up. And here's the first step. Stop pretending it's not true. Stop covering it with excuses. Stop blaming circumstances. Stop saying it's because of this or it's because of that. The truth is, the longer you keep avoiding reality, the longer you'll stay stuck. Facing the fact that you're behind is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. It takes courage to look at yourself in the mirror and admit that you're not ahead. That courage is the first ingredient in changing your life. When you refuse to face the truth, you give away your power. You hand control of your life to circumstances, to other people, to luck. But when you look yourself in the eye and say, "I am behind, and I need to change it," you take that power back. You reclaim responsibility. And responsibility is the foundation of every turnaround story you will ever hear. Why is this so important? Because if you don't admit where you are, you can't plan where you're going. If you believe you're further along than you actually are, you'll work at the wrong pace. You'll put in the effort of someone who is comfortable, not of someone who is chasing time. And when you start late, you don't have the luxury of working at a comfortable pace. You have to make up for lost time. That begins with a brutally honest self-assessment. Think about it. If you've been avoiding certain actions, avoiding certain responsibilities, avoiding certain hard decisions, you've been building a gap between where you are and where you want to be. That gap doesn't close by accident. It doesn't close by waiting. It closes only when you decide to confront it head-on. That means looking at your work ethic, looking at your habits, looking at how you spend your time, looking at the standards you've been willing to settle for. Some people will never do this because it's uncomfortable. It's easier to distract yourself. It's easier to tell yourself stories about why you can't move faster. But if you've already started late, comfort is the enemy. You don't have the time to sit back and hope things improve. You need to face the truth with urgency. This is not about feeling bad for yourself. This is not about shame. This is about clarity. Clarity gives you the ability to make better decisions. When you know exactly how far behind you are, you can create a plan that matches the reality. You can set a schedule that forces you to push harder. You can remove the habits that have been slowing you down. But if you won't admit where you stand, you'll keep guessing. And guessing is too slow when you're already behind. Facing the truth also means admitting how you got here. Maybe you wasted time, maybe you didn't have the right priorities, maybe you let fear make too many decisions for you. It doesn't matter what the reason is. What matters is you see it clearly now. Because once you understand how you fell behind, you can stop making the same choices. You can change the pattern. And changing the pattern is the fastest way to change your result. Now, this will feel uncomfortable at first. When you really face it, you'll feel the weight of all the time you've lost. You'll feel the sting of knowing you could have been further ahead if you had acted sooner. But remember this, pain is not the enemy. Pain can be fuel. That uncomfortable feeling is the reminder that you do not want to feel this way again. That's why you must use it as motivation, not as a reason to quit. When you admit you're behind, you create a mental shift. You stop telling yourself you have all the time in the world. You stop assuming opportunities will wait for you. You begin to understand that if you want to catch up, your actions must match the urgency of your situation. You'll stop wasting hours on meaningless distractions because you'll realize every wasted hour keeps you further behind. Admitting you're behind also changes how you see effort. When you think you're ahead, you might take it easy. But when you know you're behind, you stop looking for easy. You look for effective. You look for ways to do more in less time. You look for ways to work smarter and harder at the same time. You become more resourceful. You stop avoiding hard work because you know it's the only way to close the gap. You also start being honest with yourself about discipline. People who think they're ahead can get away with taking days off for no reason. They can relax when they feel like it. But when you know you're behind, you don't have that option. You have to work even when you don't feel like it. You have to show up when you'd rather stay comfortable. That's what separates people who catch up from people who stay behind. It's important to remember that no one is going to come and push you to catch up. No one is going to call you every morning and remind you that you have work to do. No one will chase you to make sure you're moving. That's on you. If you're behind, you have to push yourself. You have to be your own alarm clock. You have to be the one who says, "Enough waiting. It's time to move." When you finally admit you're behind, you stop lying to yourself about how much effort is needed. You realize it's not about doing what's comfortable. It's about doing what's required. And what's required might be twice as much effort as you've ever given before. That's not a bad thing. That's the reality. And the sooner you accept it, the sooner you can act on it. The most dangerous mindset for someone who is behind is thinking, "I'll catch up later." Later is the enemy. Later doesn't come. Every day you wait, the gap grows wide. Every day you wait, someone else is moving ahead of you. Every day you wait, your chances shrink. That's why you must stop using later as an option. This is why admitting you're behind is powerful. It changes your relationship with time. You begin to see time as something valuable, not something to waste. You understand that every day counts. You know that each hour you waste is an hour you can't get back. That understanding will make you more focused than you've ever been. And here's the part most people miss. Facing the truth frees you. You no longer have to keep up the act that you're doing fine when you're not. You can stop pretending and start producing. You can stop hiding and start improving. You can stop making excuses and start making progress. That honesty lifts a weight off your shoulders because you no longer have to pretend. You can put all that energy into real action. When you make this decision, when you admit you're behind, you also start attracting better opportunities. Why? Because you're finally in motion. People notice motion. They notice someone who is moving with urgency and determination. Opportunities tend to show up for people who are actively moving toward something, not for those who are sitting still. Now think about where you are right now. Be honest with yourself. Are you where you want to be? If not, you have two choices. You can keep making excuses and fall further behind, or you can face the truth and start running faster. You can keep saying you'll do it later, or you can decide that today is the day you take full control. You may not have started on time. You may have wasted months or years, but that doesn't mean it's over. It just means you have work to do. More work than someone who started earlier, harder work, more consistent work. But it's still possible. You can still win. You can still get ahead. You just have to be willing to admit where you are and work with the urgency your situation demands. No more pretending. No more waiting. No more hiding from the truth. You are behind. That's okay. What's not okay is staying behind. You have the power to close the gap. You have the ability to move faster than you've ever moved before. And it all starts the moment you say to yourself, I'm behind, and I will not stay here another day. Chapter 2. Decide today that you will not waste another hour. There comes a day when you have to stop treating time as if it's free. You may think you have plenty of it, but if you take a closer look, you'll see how quickly it's been slipping away. Hours turn into days, days into weeks, and before you realize it, another year has passed. This is why the decision has to be made now, not tomorrow, not next week. Now, the longer you delay, the more you give up. If you truly want to change your life, you must make a firm decision today that you will not waste another hour. This isn't about making small promises to yourself that you forget tomorrow. This is about drawing a line and saying, from this moment forward, my time matters too much to waste. Most people underestimate how much of their life is lost in small, meaningless activities. They tell themselves they'll just check their phone for a few minutes, watch one more video, scroll for a little longer. Before they know it, the day is over and nothing important has been done. That pattern destroys potential. You cannot keep living like that if you want results that matter. You have to think about what every wasted hour costs you. It's not just an hour you'll never get back. It's also an hour you could have used to learn something valuable, to improve your health, to build your skills, to make progress on your goals. When you waste an hour, you push your dreams further into the future. And when you're already behind, the future is the last place you can afford to push your progress. Deciding not to waste another hour means you start respecting time the same way you respect money. You wouldn't just throw money into the trash, yet every wasted hour is worth far more than money. Money can be earned again, but time cannot. Once an hour is gone, it's gone forever. You cannot buy it back. You cannot replace it. That reality should be enough to make you value every moment you have. You also have to understand that change does not happen by accident. You won't wake up one morning magically disciplined. Discipline begins with a choice. A choice to stop doing what doesn't serve you and start doing what does. If you wait until you feel ready, you will never begin. You don't need to feel ready. You need to decide. The moment you decide, your behavior starts to shift. You start catching yourself before you waste time. You start saying no to distractions without feeling guilty. You start moving with purpose. Many people think they will change their habits someday, but someday never comes. They believe they'll get serious when life slows down, when things feel easier, when they have more free time. But life rarely gives you that perfect moment. In fact, the more you delay, the more your habits get reinforced. The only way to break them is to interrupt them now. That's why the decision has to be made today. When you decide not to waste another hour, you begin to see your day differently. Every morning becomes a chance to move forward. Every task you complete becomes a step closer to where you want to be. You no longer go through the day passively, letting hours pass without meaning. Instead, you live deliberately. You ask yourself, what do I need to do right now that will make the most impact? And then you do it without delay. The truth is, most people waste time because they're avoiding something. They avoid the difficult tasks, the uncomfortable conversations, the hard decisions. They distract themselves with easy, meaningless activities so they don't have to face the real work. But the work you avoid is the work you need the most. Deciding not to waste another hour means confronting that truth. It means doing the hard things now instead of pushing them away. It means choosing growth over comfort. You also have to take control of your environment. If your surroundings are full of distractions, you will waste time without even realizing it. Your phone will pull you away from your work. Your television will keep you sitting for hours. Your social media will drain your focus. The easiest way to stop wasting hours is to remove what tempts you to waste them. That means turning off notifications, closing unnecessary tabs, and making your space a place for productivity, not procrastination. Procrastination. Another important shift happens when you see time as a series of opportunities instead of just passing moments. Every hour is a chance to do something meaningful. If you use it well, it adds up to progress. If you waste it, it adds up to regret. Over time, those choices define your entire life. The people who achieve the most are not the ones with more hours in the day. They're the ones who use their hours better than anyone else. Deciding not to waste another hour also changes how you approach your goals. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop overthinking. You stop letting fear hold you back. You start acting immediately because you understand that action today is worth more than a perfect plan tomorrow. Momentum comes from doing, not from waiting. And once you start moving, you'll find it much easier to keep going. You'll also notice that the more you value your time, the more you value yourself. People who waste their hours usually don't believe their time is worth much. But when you make the decision to protect your hours, you send a message to yourself that your life matters, that your goals matter, that your future matters. And once you believe that, it becomes much harder to let another hour slip away doing nothing of importance. This decision will also make you more selective about the people you spend time with. If someone constantly pulls you into pointless conversations, endless complaining, or activities that drain your energy without giving you anything back, you will start saying no. Not because you dislike them, but because you know the cost of those wasted hours is too high. You can be polite, but you must protect your time. You must protect your focus. The challenge is that there will always be something tempting you to waste time. Entertainment is easy, distraction is easy, procrastination is easy, but easy is not what will get you ahead. If you've started late, you don't need easy, you need effective. Every time you choose to waste an hour, you are choosing to stay behind, and the more you do it, the harder it becomes to catch up. That's why you have to keep reminding yourself of the urgency. Every time you're tempted to waste time, think about where you'll be in a year if you keep making the same choice. Will you be closer to your goals or further away? Will you be proud of how you used your time or full of regret? That question alone can be enough to pull you back to what matters. The people who get ahead fast aren't always the most talented or the most experienced. They are the ones who refuse to waste time. They treat every day as a chance to get better. They look at each hour and ask, how can I use this to improve my life? And then they follow through. That's the kind of mindset you need to adopt. Once you've made this decision, keep it visible, write it down, remind yourself daily. Build your schedule around it. Review how you spend your hours every night. If you see time slipping away, adjust immediately. Don't wait for another day to fix it. Fix it now. The habit of protecting your hours will become one of the most valuable habits you ever build. And here's the truth. You will not always feel like using your time well. You will have days when you're tired, when you're distracted, when you're tempted to drift. That's normal. But the decision you made to not waste another hour has to be stronger than your mood. You can rest when you've earned it, but you cannot afford to keep giving away hours to things that don't matter. This decision will change more than just your productivity. It will change your identity. You will stop seeing yourself as someone who wastes time and start seeing yourself as someone who acts with purpose. You will carry yourself differently. You will speak differently. You will move differently, because you know that every choice matters and every hour counts. It all comes back to the simple truth. Your time is limited. You do not know how much of it you have left. You cannot add more hours to your life, but you can decide to stop throwing them away. That decision, if you make it today and live by it every day, will transform your future faster than anything else you could do. If you mean it, if you truly mean it, you will start today. Not next week, not when you feel motivated, not when you have more free time. Now. Because once an hour is gone, it's gone forever, and you can't afford to lose another one.
Chapter 3. Outwork everyone until you no longer feel behind. There comes a point when you have to look around and realize something very important. If you want to stop feeling like you're falling behind, you have to be willing to do more than the average person. You have to be willing to work at a level most people won't even consider. It's not enough to hope things will get better. It's not enough to want it more. You have to put in hours, effort and focus that set you apart from everyone else in your space. That is the only way to close the gap and eventually feel like you're ahead. The truth is, most people work just enough to feel like they're making an effort, but not enough to truly change their situation. They do the bare minimum, and then they wonder why their life looks exactly the same year after year. If you've started late, that level of effort won't cut it. You can't afford to move at the pace of the average person. You have to push harder. You have to give more of yourself, and you have to do it consistently. Outworking everyone doesn't just mean putting in more hours, it means making those hours count. There's no point in spending 10 hours a day being busy if none of those hours are producing real results. This is where focus comes in. You have to know exactly what you're working toward and keep your attention locked on it. Distraction is your enemy. Every moment you waste on something that doesn't move you forward is another moment someone else is using to get ahead of you. When you're behind, you have to accept that your workload will be heavier than someone who started earlier. That's just reality. They've had more time to learn, to build, to grow. You have to catch up, and catching up means doing more in less time. This will test you. You will feel tired. You will feel stretched. You will have days when it feels like you're giving everything and still have a long way to go. That's normal. That's part of the process. The key is to keep going anyway. The advantage of working harder than everyone else is that it forces you to grow faster. You learn quicker. You develop skills more rapidly. You discover how much you're actually capable of. Many people never find out what their real potential is because they've never been pushed to that level. But when you're behind and committed to outworking everyone, you live in that space every day. You learn to get comfortable with effort most people would run from. This approach also changes how people see you. When others notice that you're willing to put in the work, opportunities start finding you. People want to work with someone who is serious, dependable, and willing to go further than anyone else. It builds a reputation that becomes its own advantage, but that reputation only comes from action, not from talking about how hard you're going to work. If you want to close the gap, you also have to use your time outside of work wisely. It's easy to put in a strong effort for a few hours and then waste the rest of the day on unimportant things. But if you're serious about no longer feeling behind, your free time needs to serve your goals too. That might mean reading instead of watching television. It might mean learning a new skill instead of spending the night scrolling online. It might mean resting deliberately, so you can work even harder tomorrow. Another part of outworking everyone is developing stamina. Anyone can work hard for a day or two, maybe even a week. But to truly catch up, you have to sustain that effort over months and years. That means taking care of your body, eating right, getting enough sleep and managing your stress. Burnout won't help you close the gap. You need to be able to keep going for the long haul. Working harder than everyone else is not about destroying yourself. It's about building the capacity to operate at a higher level consistently. You also need to constantly evaluate your results. Working more hours means nothing if those hours aren't producing outcome. Every week, look at what you've accomplished. Are you closer to your goals than you were last week? If not, something needs to change. Maybe you need to focus on higher value activities. Maybe you need to remove certain distractions altogether. Outworking everyone means working smarter and harder at the same time. Don't expect the process to feel fair. You might look at someone who is ahead of you and feel frustrated that they can get away with working less than you. That's fine. They earned that position by starting earlier. And now you have to earn yours by catching up. If you focus on how unfair it feels, you'll waste energy. If you focus on what you can control, your own effort, you'll move forward faster. This is also where mental toughness comes in. When you decide to outwork everyone, you will deal with doubt. You'll question whether it's worth it. You'll feel the pull of old habits trying to slow you down. You'll hear other people telling you to relax, that you're doing too much, that you should take it easy. Ignore it. They don't know your position. They don't know what it feels like to be behind and determined to catch up. You're not working to match their pace. You're working to pass them. There's a certain satisfaction that comes from knowing you're putting in more than anyone else. You go to bed at night knowing you gave everything you had. You wake up with the confidence that comes from action, not from wishful thinking. That feeling builds momentum. And momentum is what eventually takes you from behind to ahead. You have to remember that effort compounds. The work you put in today builds on the work you did yesterday. Skills sharpen. Knowledge grows. Experience stacks up. At first it might feel like you're pushing hard without seeing big results. But over time, the gap begins to close. And once it starts closing, your confidence will grow. You'll no longer feel like you're chasing everyone. You'll feel like you belong in the race. Outworking everyone also means holding yourself to a higher standard. It's easy to settle for good enough when no one is watching. But good enough won't close the gap. You have to demand more from yourself than anyone else demands from you. You have to take pride in the quality of your work, not just the quantity. People notice when you care about doing things well, and it sets you apart. Another advantage of this approach is that it eliminates the need for comparison. When you know you're giving your maximum, it doesn't matter what someone else is doing. You stop wondering if they're ahead of you. You stop worrying about how far they've come. Your focus is on your own growth, your own improvement, your own results. That mindset frees you from the constant mental noise of comparison and lets you put all your energy into your work. If you truly want to stop feeling behind, you have to accept that there will be sacrifices. You might have to give up certain comforts. You might have to say no to certain social events. You might have to skip leisure activities you enjoy. But remember, this is temporary. You're not giving up fun forever. You're making a strategic choice to get ahead now, so you can have more freedom later. One of the most powerful parts of this process is the change in identity. When you consistently outwork everyone, you stop seeing yourself as someone who's struggling to catch up. You start seeing yourself as someone who is capable of extraordinary effort. That belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You take on bigger challenges. You step into opportunities with confidence. You stop hesitating. Eventually, there comes a moment when you realize you're no longer behind. You might not even notice it right away. But one day you'll look around and see that you've caught up or even pulled ahead. That moment makes every hour, every sacrifice, every extra bit of effort worth it. But it doesn't happen by accident. It happens because you made a choice to do more, give more, and be more than the average person was willing to. Until that day comes, you keep pushing, you keep working with purpose. You keep raising your standards. And you keep reminding yourself why you started. The work will pay off, but only if you commit fully. Outwork everyone, not just for a day, not just for a week, but until you have closed the gap completely. And when you do, you'll never have to wonder if you could have done more, because you'll know you gave everything you had.
Chapter 4. Remove people and habits that slow down your progress. If you want to move forward faster, you must take a hard look at what is holding you back. It's not always a lack of talent, skill, or opportunity. Often, it's the people you allow into your life and the habits you allow to stay in your routine. Both can quietly drain your energy, your time, and your motivation until you're moving slower than you even realize. If you've started late and you need to catch up, you cannot afford to carry extra weight. You cannot afford to surround yourself with people who pull you down or keep living with habits that rob you of progress. It starts with awareness. Many people never stop to think about the effect others have on them. They keep the same circle simply because it's familiar, but familiarity is not the same as value. Some relationships push you forward, while others keep you standing still, or worse, moving backward. If someone constantly doubts your abilities, mocks your ambitions, or encourages you to stay comfortable, they are not helping you close the gap. They may not even be doing it intentionally, but the effect is the same. You slow down, and if you slow down, you stay behind. The same is true for habits. Not all of them are bad in an obvious way. Some of them just steal your time in small, unnoticed pieces. You might not think much about how many hours you spend scrolling, binge-watching, or jumping from one unimportant task to another. But over weeks and months, those hours add up to huge chunks of lost progress. The worst part is that most of these habits feel harmless in the moment. You tell yourself you get to the important work later. You believe you can make up for it tomorrow. But tomorrow turns into next week into next month, and you are still where you were before. Removing people and habits that slow you down takes courage. It's not easy to step away from relationships you've had for years, even if they no longer serve your growth. It's not easy to give up routines that feel comfortable, even if they keep you stuck. But comfort is not the goal. Progress is. And progress requires making choices that protect your time, your focus, and your mental space. When it comes to people, you don't need to create unnecessary drama. You don't have to make big announcements about cutting someone off. What you need to do is set boundaries. If someone's constant negativity makes you feel drained, limit your time with them. If someone always invites you into activities that take you away from your goals, start saying no. If someone refuses to respect your priorities, stop giving them the same access to your time. You don't have to be cruel, you just have to protect your mission. The same principle applies to habits. You can't just hope bad habits disappear. You have to replace them with better ones. If you tend to waste hours on your phone, replace that time with reading, learning, or working on something that directly moves you forward. If you tend to stay up too late watching things that add no value, replace that habit with an evening routine that sets you up for a productive morning. You don't break bad habits by removing them and leaving a gap. You break them by filling that gap with something better. The challenge is that these people and habits often provide short-term comfort. A friend who encourages you to skip the hard work for an easy night out feels good in the moment. A habit of distracting yourself with entertainment gives you an instant escape from stress. But these short-term comforts cost you long-term growth. Every time you choose comfort over progress, you reinforce the very patterns that keep you from catching up. If you've started late, you have to think differently. You cannot think like the average person who still has plenty of time to wait. You need to move with urgency, and urgency means protecting your environment fiercely. That includes your social environment and your personal routines.
Think about the people in your life who inspire you, who challenge you to be better, who remind you of your potential. Those are the people you should spend more time with. Their energy will fuel your determination. Now think about the people who constantly complain, who discourage ambition, who settle for less and want you to do the same. You need to reduce their influence over you. This doesn't mean you hate them. It means you choose not to let their mindset shape yours. The same goes for habits. Think about what you do every day that truly moves you closer to your goals. Do more of. Think about what you do every day that wastes your time or distracts you from what matters. Do less of that or remove it completely. This is the kind of honest self-audit that changes everything. Another important point is that removing these people and habits will not only free up time, it will also free up mental space. When you're constantly dealing with negativity, you spend energy managing. When you're stuck in wasteful routines, you carry the frustration of knowing you could be doing more. Removing these drains gives you clarity, and clarity leads to better focus. Some people will not understand your decisions. They may feel offended or think you've changed. And the truth is, you have changed. You've decided that your future matters more than staying the same. Not everyone will support that, and that's okay. You are not making these choices to please everyone. You are making them to protect your progress. You might also feel a sense of loss when you let go of certain people or habits. That's natural. Change often feels like loss at first, but what you gain from these decisions will far outweigh what you lose. You gain time, you gain focus, you gain energy, you gain the ability to move faster toward your goals without unnecessary weight holding you back. Once you've made these changes, you'll notice how much lighter you feel. You'll see how much faster you can move when you're not constantly being pulled in the wrong direction. You'll have more hours in your day and more energy to put into the work that matters, and the people who remain in your life will be the ones who want to see you succeed. It's important to remember that this is not a one-time process. As you grow, you will continue to identify people and habits that no longer align with your direction. You'll need to make adjustments along the way. The higher you aim, the more you'll have to protect your environment. Every new level requires a new standard. Removing what slows you down is not just about moving faster. It's about making sure every step you take is in the right direction. You can work as hard as you want, but if you're surrounded by the wrong influences or stuck in the wrong habits, you'll waste effort. By clearing those obstacles, you make sure your work pays off. In the end, it comes down to one question. Do you want to move forward badly enough to make the hard choices? If the answer is yes, then you already know what to do. Identify the people and habits that are keeping you from making the progress you need. Create distance where you must. Replace old patterns with new productive ones. Keep your environment clean and your focus sharp. You've started late. You cannot afford to carry anything that slows you down. The sooner you make these changes, the sooner you'll feel the difference. And once you feel that difference, you'll never go back to letting the wrong people and the wrong habits hold you back again. Chapter 5. Say yes to challenges that force you to grow quickly. Growth does not come from doing what you already know how to do. It comes from stepping into situations that stretch you, test you, and demand more from you than you have given before. The people who advance quickly are not the ones who wait for the perfect moment or the safe opportunity. They are the ones who step up when a challenge presents itself, even if it feels uncomfortable or uncertain. If you've started late and you're serious about catching up, you cannot afford to hide from challenges. You have to say yes to the ones that will force you to grow faster than you would on your own. Many people hesitate when faced with a challenge because they're worried about failure. They think about all the ways it could go wrong before they think about what they could gain. That hesitation keeps them in the same place. They stick to what they already know, and their skills never expand. But challenges are not just obstacles, they are opportunities in disguise. Every challenge that pushes you beyond your current limits builds a version of you that is stronger, sharper, and more capable. When you say yes to a challenge, you're saying yes to growth that can't be achieved through comfort. You're agreeing to face the pressure that forces you to adapt. You're accepting that you will have to think differently, work harder, and commit more deeply. And in doing so, you develop the kind of resilience and confidence that makes you unstoppable in the long run. It's important to understand that the challenges worth taking will rarely feel convenient. They will often show up at the wrong time. They will demand energy you think you don't have. They will require sacrifices you didn't plan for. But that's exactly why they're powerful, because they pull you out of your normal rhythm and force you to operate at a higher level. Think about the moments in your life when you grew the most. Chances are those moments were not easy. They likely involved stepping into unfamiliar territory, facing situations you weren't fully prepared for, and figuring things out along the way. That's the essence of rapid growth. You cannot replicate it by staying in a safe routine. Saying yes to challenges also means trusting yourself to figure things out. You don't need to have all the answers before you start. In fact, you won't. Growth often happens because you are forced to find solutions under pressure. You discover abilities you didn't know you had because the challenge demands them. If you wait until you feel perfectly ready, you'll miss opportunities that could have changed everything. When you take on challenges, you also send a message to yourself that you are capable of more than you've been allowing. That belief is crucial when you're trying to catch up after starting late. You cannot afford to think small. You cannot afford to doubt your ability to rise to the occasion. Every challenge you accept and overcome is proof that you can handle more than you thought possible. This is not about saying yes to everything. You still have to be strategic. Focus on challenges that align with your goals and push you in the direction you want to grow. A challenge that pulls you away from your mission is just a distraction, but one that requires you to sharpen your skills, expand your knowledge, or increase your discipline is exactly the kind you need. You also have to commit fully once you say yes. Half-hearted effort will not produce the growth you're after. When you agree to a challenge, step in with the intention to give everything you have. Treat it as a test of your character, not just a task to complete. The way you approach it will determine the strength you gain from it. Some challenges will be public, where others can see your progress or your mistakes. That visibility can be intimidating, but it also holds you accountable. When people are watching, you're more likely to bring your best effort, and when you succeed under that pressure, it builds a reputation that opens new doors. Other challenges will be private, ones that no one else sees. These can be just as powerful. They might involve personal discipline, breaking old habits, or pushing yourself through a goal you've been avoiding. The growth you gain from these private battles will fuel your confidence for public ones. The truth is, saying yes to challenges will not always feel like the smart choice in the moment. You'll have doubts. You'll wonder if you're taking on too much. You'll question whether you're ready. But the moment you commit and start moving forward, those doubts begin to fade. Action builds confidence, not the other way around. You also need to understand that challenges will expose your weaknesses. That's not a reason to avoid them, it's the reason to take them on. You can't improve what you never see. A challenge will show you exactly where you need to grow, which skills you need to sharpen, and which habits you need to strengthen. Once you know, you can work on them deliberately. One of the greatest benefits of saying yes to challenges is how it accelerates your learning. In a short time, you can gain more experience than you would in years of playing it safe. Challenges condense lessons. They put you in situations where you have to make decisions, solve problems, and adapt quickly. Those skills will serve you in every other area of your life. There's also a psychological shift that happens when you consistently choose challenge over comfort. You stop being intimidated by difficulty. You start expecting it and even seeking it out. You become the kind of person who doesn't shy away from hard things, and that mindset alone sets you apart from most people. It's worth noting that not every challenge will end in success. Sometimes you will fall short, but even then, the growth you gain is valuable. Failure under challenge teaches you resilience. It forces you to recover quickly and try again with more insight. It strips away the fear of failing, because you've already faced it and kept moving. When you're trying to catch up, you need that resilience. You don't have time to recover slowly from every setback. You need to bounce back quickly and keep pushing forward. Challenges train you to do exactly that. Over time, as you keep saying yes to the right challenges, you'll notice that your pace of improvement accelerates. Things that once felt overwhelming will feel manageable. Goals that seemed far away will start coming into reach, and eventually, you will look back and realize that the gap between where you were and where you wanted to be has closed significantly. That progress will not come from playing it safe. It will not come from waiting until you feel comfortable. It will come from saying yes to the moments that scare you a little, that make you uncertain, that force you to step into the unknown. Those are the moments that transform you. If you want to stop feeling behind, you must be willing to grow faster than you thought possible. Challenges are the fastest path to that growth. Every time you choose them over comfort, you push yourself closer to the person you're capable of becoming. And when the next challenge comes, you won't hesitate. You'll remember all the times you said yes before and how each one moved you forward. You'll know that the discomfort is temporary, but the growth is permanent. And that will be all the reason you need to step forward, once again, ready to prove to yourself that you can rise higher than you ever imagined.
Chapter 6. Learn from those ahead and act on it immediately. If you want to move faster toward your goals, you have to shorten the learning curve. You can spend years figuring things out on your own, or you can look to those who are already where you want to be and study exactly what they've done. Learning from people ahead of you is one of the smartest, fastest ways to close the gap. But learning alone is not enough. You have to take what you learn and put it into action right away. If you delay, the lesson fades, the urgency disappears, and the advantage is lost. The people ahead of you didn't get there by accident. They made decisions, built habits, and developed skills that worked. They've already faced problems you haven't encountered yet. They've already made mistakes you can avoid. By studying their path, you can bypass years of trial and error. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You have to understand how they turned it. The challenge is that many people admire those ahead of them, but never go deeper than admiration. They watch from a distance, maybe get inspired, and then go right back to their old ways. They treat successful people like entertainment instead of education. But if you're serious about catching up, you have to study them like your future depends on it, because it does. Start by identifying who is ahead of you in the area you care about. Don't limit yourself to one person. Look at multiple examples so you can see different ways to succeed. Pay attention not only to what they do, but to how they think. The mindset behind the action is just as important as the action itself. Once you know who to learn from, immerse yourself in their work. Read their books, listen to their talks, study their routines. Pay attention to the small decisions they make daily. Look for patterns in how they approach challenges. See how they use their time, how they prioritize, how they deal with setbacks. These details are the blueprint you're after. But here's where most people fail. They collect information, but never use it. They treat learning as if it's the same thing as improving. It's not. You could spend a year learning strategies, but if you never apply them, your life will stay exactly the same. The point of learning is to improve results, not to feel informed. When you learn something valuable from someone ahead of you, act on it immediately. Test it in your own life.
Adjust it to fit your situation. See if it works for you. Action turns information into progress. Without action, all you have is knowledge sitting unused in your head. Don't fall into the trap of thinking you need to master the idea before you try it. The fastest learning comes from applying as you go. You'll refine your understanding through use, not through endless study. Waiting until you feel ready is just another form of procrastination. You also have to be humble enough to accept that you don't know everything yet. Pride keeps a lot of people from learning from others. They want to believe they can figure it all out on their own. But if you've started late, you don't have the luxury of learning only from your own experience. You need to borrow the lessons from people who have already walked the road. This doesn't mean you copy them exactly. Your life, your strengths, and your goals are unique, but you can adapt their strategies to fit your circumstances. Take the principles that work for them and make them work for you. Innovation often comes from combining proven methods with your own approach. Another important part of learning from those ahead is to watch how they handle failure. Many people only focus on someone's success and miss the lessons in their struggles. But the way they recovered from setbacks, the changes they made after mistakes, and the resilience they built are all part of what got them ahead. If you understand how they navigated hard times, you'll be better prepared for your own. Be careful not to get stuck in comparison while learning from others. You're not studying them to feel worse about where you are. You're studying them to close the gap. If you focus too much on how far ahead they are, you'll feel discouraged. Focus instead on what specific actions they took to get there. Those actions are what you can use to move forward faster. Sometimes the best lessons will come from direct contact. If you can connect with those ahead of you, ask thoughtful questions. Show genuine interest in their journey. Many successful people are willing to share advice if they see that you're serious about applying it. But respect their time. Don't ask for things you could easily learn on your own. Use your conversations to go deeper than what's already public. You may also need to invest in access. That could mean paying for courses, attending events, or joining communities where people ahead of you gather. The cost might feel uncomfortable at first, but the time you save and the mistakes you avoid can make it worth it many times over. If you view it as an investment in speed and efficiency, it becomes much easier to justify. Once you've learned from someone ahead, track your results after applying what you've learned. Are you seeing progress? Are things getting easier, faster, or more effective? If not, go back and adjust. Sometimes you'll need to fine-tune the method to fit your exact situation. The willingness to adapt is just as important as the willingness to learn. Over time, this approach will create a snowball effect. The more you learn and act, the faster you improve. The faster you improve, the closer you get to those you once admired from a distance. And eventually, you'll find yourself in a position where others start looking to you for guidance. That's when you'll see the full value of learning from those ahead. You're not just catching up, you're building a foundation that allows you to keep moving forward at a high level. You'll have skills, insights, and habits that will serve you for the rest of your life. But none of that happens if you treat learning as a passive activity. You have to approach it with urgency. You have to see it as the shortcut it is. Every day you wait to apply what you've learned is a day you stay behind. And when you've started late, every day matters. So find the people ahead of you, study them with focus. Take the best of what they've learned and put it into action immediately. Let your results guide your adjustment. Keep repeating the cycle: learn, act, refine. If you do this consistently, you will not only catch up, but you'll develop the ability to keep pace with anyone in your field. When you see someone ahead of you, don't just admire them, use them as a source of acceleration. They've already paid the price to learn the lessons. Your job is to take those lessons and use them faster than they did. That is how you make up for lost time. That is how you stop feeling behind. And that is how you put yourself in a position where one day someone will be looking at you as the person to learn from. Chapter 7. Refuse to slow down when you start feeling safe. One of the most dangerous points in your progress is not when you are struggling or when you are behind. It's when you start to feel safe. Safety feels comfortable. Safety tells you you've made it far enough to relax, far enough to take your foot off the gas, far enough to slow down. And that is exactly when most people start losing momentum. The danger is subtle because nothing feels wrong at first. You're still ahead of where you used to be, but the drive that got you here starts to fade. If you want to keep moving forward, you have to refuse to slow down the moment comfort starts whispering in your ear. When you begin to feel safe, you often start telling yourself you've earned a break. You look at the progress you've made and think, I can afford to coast for a while, and maybe you can, if you're content with staying exactly where you are. But here's the reality. The moment you stop pushing forward, you start falling behind. Progress does not freeze in place. It either moves forward or it slips backward. The same discipline and urgency that helped you catch up is what will help you stay ahead. The truth is, success creates a false sense of security. You start thinking the hard work is behind you, that you've built enough momentum to carry you. But momentum only lasts if you keep feeding it. If you stop feeding it, it dies faster than you expect. People forget that staying ahead requires as much focus as getting ahead, sometimes even more, because once you're ahead, there's a temptation to protect what you have instead of pushing for more. That mindset shifts you from a creator to a caretaker, from building to maintaining, and maintaining is never enough in a world that's always moving. Feeling safe also changes your relationship with challenge. When you were behind, you chased opportunities aggressively. You were hungry. You took risks. But when you feel secure, you become more cautious. You start avoiding situations that might threaten your comfort. You start choosing the easy path again, and slowly, without realizing it, you lose the very edge that made you competitive. If you've started late, you cannot afford this pattern. Your climb has to continue until you have built a level of strength and skill that no comfort can soften. And the only way to do that is to set new goals as soon as you hit your current ones. The moment you reach a milestone, instead of slowing down to enjoy it for too long, ask yourself, what's next? This keeps your mind engaged, your energy focused, and your drive alive. You also have to be aware that comfort changes your habits. When you were chasing hard, you woke up earlier, worked longer, stayed disciplined, you made sacrifices. But the moment you feel safe, it's easy to let those standards slip. You start hitting the snooze button a little more often. You allow distractions back into your routine. You tell yourself you'll catch up tomorrow. These small compromises pile up quickly, and before you know it, the gap you closed is opening again. One way to fight this is to create constant challenges for yourself. Even if things are going well, deliberately put yourself in situations that force you to grow. Sign up for something that scares you a little. Take on a bigger project. Learn a skill that feels difficult. Push for a higher standard in your work. By doing this, you keep yourself from settling into the mental state of good enough. Another danger of feeling safe is that it changes your perspective on time. When you were behind, every hour felt valuable. You were careful about how you spent your day, but comfort makes you believe you have more time than you do. You start wasting hours because the pressure is gone. The problem is, time is just as valuable when you're ahead as when you're behind. In fact, it's even more valuable, because it's your chance to widen the gap and build something that lasts. Refusing to slow down is not about living in constant stress, it's about staying sharp. It's about keeping the habits that made you strong, even when you no longer feel desperate. It's about training yourself to operate at a high level by choice, not just because circumstances forced you to. That way your progress is sustainable because it's part of who you are, not just a reaction to being behind. You also have to remember that the world doesn't stop moving when you feel safe. Other people are still working hard. New competition is always coming. The market is always changing. Opportunities are always shifting. If you slow down too much, you may not notice when you start losing your position. By the time you do, catching up again will be harder than it was the first time. The solution is to keep measuring your progress, even when things are going well. Track your work. Track your result. Compare your effort now to the effort you were putting in when you were chasing hard. If you see the intensity dropping, correct it before it becomes a habit. This awareness alone can keep you from drifting into a slow decline. You also need to keep surrounding yourself with people who challenge you. When you feel safe, it's easy to only spend time with people who admire you or tell you how well you're doing. That can feel good, but it's dangerous. You need people around you who are ahead of you, who remind you there's still a lot of room to grow. Their example will keep you hungry. Another way to avoid slowing down is to focus on contribution, not just personal gain. When your only measure of progress is your own comfort, you will stop when you feel comfortable. But when your measure of progress includes the value you bring to others, your team, your customers, your family, you will keep finding ways to give more. That keeps you active and engaged, even when you could afford to relax. You have to be honest with yourself about the signs of slowing down. Maybe you've started making more excuses for why you can't do something. Maybe you've been avoiding the hard work you used to take on without hesitation. Maybe you've stopped setting new goals because you're happy with what you have. These are all signs that safety is starting to dull your edge. The longer you let it happen, the harder it will be to reignite your drive. If you've started late, remember how hard it was to gain momentum in the first place. Remember the energy it took to push through obstacles, to put in the hours to keep going when you were tired. That work got you to where you are now. Why would you throw it away by slowing down too soon? The safest place you can be is not in comfort, it's in growth. Staying in growth mode requires discipline. You have to schedule your time with intention, even when it feels like you could take it easy. You have to push yourself to keep learning, even when you already know more than most people. You have to keep saying yes to opportunities that challenge you, even when you could coast. This is how you keep your momentum alive. There's a temptation to believe that once you feel safe, you can simply maintain your position without as much effort. That belief has destroyed more careers, more businesses, and more personal progress than most people realize. Maintenance is a slow form of decline. The only way to truly maintain your position is to keep building it. So when you start feeling safe, use it as a warning, not a signal to relax. Let it remind you that comfort is the point where most people lose their edge, and that you're not most people. Stay hungry. Keep moving. Set bigger goals. Take on bigger challenges. Keep your pace as if you were still chasing hard, because the truth is you're chasing your best potential, and that chase never ends. Refusing to slow down when you feel safe is not about being restless, it's about being wise. It's about knowing that progress is fragile if you stop feeding it.
Chapter 8. Fill your day with actions that truly move you forward. If you want to see real change in your life, you have to take control of your days in a way most people never do. You have to make sure that almost every moment is spent on something that actually matters to your progress. Too many people fill their days with activity but not productivity. They confuse being busy with moving forward. They wake up, get caught up in small tasks, handle things that make them feel like they're working hard, but when the day ends, they realize they haven't moved closer to their real goals.
If you've started late and need to catch up, you can't afford to live that way. You have to fill your day with actions that push you forward in clear, measurable ways. The first step is knowing what truly moves you forward. This is not always obvious, and that's why so many people waste time without realizing it. Moving forward means making progress in the areas that directly impact your future. It means doing the work that brings you closer to your goals, not just the work that keeps you busy. If you want to improve your career, that might mean building skills, building relationships, or completing projects that matter. If you want to grow financially, it might mean creating value, finding new opportunities, and taking consistent action to earn more. The key is to identify those actions and make them a daily priority. You can't rely on chance for this. If you wake up and just do whatever comes to mind, most of your day will be taken over by low-value tasks. The world will fill your time for you if you don't fill it yourself. That's why you have to plan your days intentionally. You have to decide in advance which actions will move you forward and commit to doing them no matter what comes up. It's important to understand that not all progress happens at the same pace. Some actions will move you forward faster than others. For example, spending hours reorganizing your desk might make you feel more organized, but it won't change your future. On the other hand, making a new business call, learning a high-income skill, or finishing an important project will have a lasting impact. If you fill your day with high-impact actions, your progress accelerates. If you fill it with low-impact actions, you'll look busy but stay stuck. The challenge is that low-impact actions are often easier and more comfortable. They give you a sense of accomplishment without requiring much risk or effort. High-impact actions, on the other hand, usually feel harder. They might involve putting yourself out there, dealing with rejection, facing uncertainty, or working on complex problems. But those are the actions that matter most. You have to be willing to lean into them every single day. One of the best ways to make sure your day is filled with meaningful action is to start it with your most important task. Too many people spend their mornings on things that don't really matter, and by the time they get to the important work, their energy is gone. If you start your day with something that moves you forward, you guarantee that at least part of your day is spent in progress mode. Over time, this habit compounds into massive results. It's also critical to remove or limit the things that slow you down. Even if you have a few high-value tasks in your day, their impact will be reduced if you spend the rest of your time on distractions. Social media, endless news scrolling, random internet browsing, these things eat your hours without giving you anything back. If you let them dominate your day, you'll always feel like you're moving slower than you should. Another key is to make your actions measurable. If you can't measure whether something is moving you forward, you can't know if it's worth doing. Instead of saying, "I'll work on my business today," set a measurable goal like, "I'll reach out to 10 potential clients." Instead of saying, "I'll improve my skills," set a goal like, "I'll complete 2 hours of focused learning." This forces you to focus on outcomes instead of vague intentions. You also need to learn to say no often. Every time you say yes to something unimportant, you're saying no to something that could move you forward. People will ask for your time, distractions will pop up, and opportunities will appear that look good but don't actually align with your main goals. If you accept all of them, your day will fill up with work that feels productive but doesn't change your future. Being selective with your commitments is not selfish, it's essential. When you commit to filling your day with forward-moving actions, you will start noticing a difference in how you feel. You'll end your day with a sense of accomplishment instead of frustration. You'll start building momentum because each day will contribute directly to your progress. This momentum will make it easier to keep going because you'll see and feel the results of your effort. It's also worth noting that forward-moving actions don't have to be massive every time. Sometimes the most powerful progress comes from consistent small steps. The key is that every step is pointed in the right direction. Even if you can only dedicate a short amount of time each day to your biggest goals, that time will add up quickly if you use it well. One thing you must avoid is filling your day with reactive work. This is when you spend your whole day responding to other people's needs and demands, leaving no room for your own priorities. If you're always reacting, you're never directing. You have to create space for proactive work, the things you choose to do because they align with your goals. That means setting boundaries, blocking out time for yourself, and protecting it fiercely. To make this easier, you can use the habit of reviewing your day each night. Ask yourself, did I spend most of today on actions that moved me forward? If not, what will I change tomorrow? This reflection keeps you accountable and prevents you from drifting into unproductive routine. It also trains you to recognize which actions give you the most progress, so you can focus on them more. Another helpful approach is to batch your low-value tasks. Instead of letting them interrupt your high-value work throughout the day, set a short window of time to handle them all at once. This keeps them from spreading out and eating into your most productive hours. That way you can spend the majority of your day on things that matter. Surrounding yourself with forward-moving people can also make a big difference. When you spend time with people who are focused on their goals, it's easier to stay focused on yours. They'll inspire you to take bigger actions, and their progress will remind you of what's possible when you stay committed. Over time, this way of living becomes a habit. You stop thinking about whether you should take action. You just do it. Your default becomes movement instead of hesitation, and when that happens, catching up and moving ahead becomes natural, because your entire day is designed for progress. The bottom line is this: you can't afford to let your days be filled with anything that doesn't contribute to your growth. Every day you waste is a day you can't get back, but every day you fill with meaningful action gets you closer to the life you want. When you look at your day, you should be able to point to specific actions and say, that moved me forward. If you can't, something has to change. Make this your standard. Every day, take actions that have a clear link to your goals. Protect your time from distraction. Chapter 9. Do what others avoid if it gets you results faster. If you want to gain ground quickly, you have to be willing to step into the spaces that most people avoid. The reason so many remain stuck is not because they lack talent or potential, but because they consistently choose the path that feels safe and easy. They dodge the difficult conversations, pass on the uncomfortable work, and shy away from the high-pressure situations that could push them ahead. But if you're determined to catch up and move past where you are now, you can't follow that same pattern. You have to be the person who says yes to the things that scare others, the things that feel uncertain, the things that require more courage than comfort. The truth is, the work most people avoid is often the work that produces the fastest results. That's because the competition is thinner in those areas. Everyone is fighting for the easy wins. Few are willing to show up for the demanding challenges, so when you do, you immediately stand out. You face less crowding, less noise, and more opportunity to prove yourself. But that means pushing yourself to do what doesn't come naturally, and that's where most stop. There are certain tasks that nearly everyone resists. Cold calls, negotiating for better deals, taking on public roles, handling complex projects with no clear path, or confronting problems head-on instead of dancing around them. These are uncomfortable for a reason. They expose you. They put you in situations where you might fail. They require you to show initiative instead of waiting for someone else to make the move. But precisely because they're challenging, they're valuable. They get noticed. They get remembered. They often deliver results in a fraction of the time it takes to achieve the same outcome through the safer route. If you've started late, you can't afford to spend years circling around the easy options. You need results now, and that means leaning into the work others pass up. The hard truth is that you will have to put yourself in situations where you're not entirely sure what you're doing, but you're willing to figure it out as you go. That's how you build speed. That's how you compress time. Doing what others avoid is not about recklessness. It's about calculated discomfort. You assess the opportunity, see its value, and choose to step in even though it's outside your comfort zone. This is very different from just taking risks for the sake of risk. The goal is always to find the most direct, effective route to your result, even if that route requires more personal challenge than you'd like. One of the biggest benefits of doing what others avoid is the confidence it builds. When you step into these situations repeatedly, you start to see that you can handle far more than you thought. You develop a reputation, not just with others, but with yourself as someone who will show up and get it done, no matter how uncomfortable it is. That self-trust is invaluable. It changes the way you see challenges. Instead of shrinking from them, you begin to seek them out, knowing they carry your next leap forward. The reason so many avoid this kind of work is because it often comes with short-term pain. You might face rejection. You might feel awkward. You might get criticism. But the long-term payoff dwarfs that discomfort. Those rejections teach you resilience. That awkwardness makes the next attempt easier. That criticism sharpens your skill. Every time you step into these avoided spaces, you come out stronger and better prepared. It's also worth noting that many of the avoided actions are simply unfamiliar. People resist what they don't understand. Once you do it a few times, the fear shrinks dramatically. What once felt intimidating starts to feel like just another part of your skill set. That's when you gain a huge advantage, because while others are still hesitating, you're already moving forward without hesitation. To make this approach work, you have to train yourself to recognize when you're avoiding something important. Pay attention to the tasks you keep pushing to the bottom of your list, the opportunities you keep talking yourself out of, the conversations you keep postponing. Ask yourself, am I avoiding this because it's truly not worth my time, or because it's uncomfortable? If it's uncomfortable but valuable, that's your signal to do it now, not later. Another way to think about it is to ask, if I did this today, would it move me forward faster than anything else I could do? If the answer is yes, then avoiding it is costing you speed. You might not feel that cost immediately, but over time it's the difference between staying stuck and leaping ahead. This mindset also means not waiting for permission. The work others avoid often has no one handing out invitations. You have to step forward yourself. You have to decide you're going to take ownership of it. This initiative alone will set you apart in a world where most people are waiting for someone else to give them the green light. Another advantage is that by doing what others avoid, you gain unique experience. You learn things no one else around you is learning. You develop skills that few others have. These become part of your personal advantage, allowing you to solve problems others can't and see opportunities others miss. This is how you start to operate on a different level entirely. But this only works if you're consistent. Doing one uncomfortable thing won't change much if you go right back to avoiding them. You have to build it into your normal approach. Each week, deliberately choose a task or opportunity you would normally avoid and tackle it head-on. Over time, this becomes a habit, and when it's a habit, the amount of progress you make in a short time will surprise you. The interesting thing is that while others are avoiding the tough work because they think it's too risky, the bigger risk is in avoiding it. Playing it safe often means moving so slowly that you never reach your destination. The people who make big leaps in their careers, businesses, or personal growth are the ones who are willing to get uncomfortable repeatedly. They take the opportunities that others let slip, and as a result, they're rewarded not just with results, but with a reputation for being dependable under pressure. The choice is simple. You can keep doing the work that everyone else is willing to do and stay at the same pace as everyone else, or you can step into the work they avoid and move faster. The second option will never be the easier path, but it will almost always be the faster one. And if you've started late, speed matters more than comfort. You will notice something else once you start embracing this mindset. Many of the things you thought were big challenges were only big in your mind. The anticipation of discomfort is often worse than the reality. Once you're in the middle of the task, you realize you can handle it. And each time you prove that to yourself, you expand the range of what you believe you can do. That's how personal limits dissolve. Chapter 10. Prove to yourself every night you gave your maximum. At the end of each day, there is one question that will determine how quickly you move toward your goals. Did you truly give your maximum effort today? Not a decent effort. Not a comfortable effort. Your maximum. This is not a question for anyone else to answer. It's not about proving anything to the world. It's about being honest with yourself when no one else is watching. If you've started late and you need to catch up, this daily self-assessment is your most important habit. It forces you to look at your day with clarity and take responsibility for how you used it. Giving your maximum doesn't mean you worked non-stop without rest. It means you used the hours you had with full intention and commitment. It means you didn't hold back out of laziness, fear, or distraction. It means that when you had a chance to push yourself a little harder, you did. Most people will avoid this level of accountability because it strips away excuses. If you look at your day and know you didn't give your all, you can't blame circumstances, luck, or anyone else. You have to admit that you chose not to. That truth can be uncomfortable, but it's also powerful. It's the kind of truth that creates change. The purpose of asking yourself this question every night is to make sure you don't let days slip by unnoticed. You can't afford to wake up months later and realize you've been moving in circles. Each day is a chance to push forward, but only if you treat it like it matters. And when you evaluate your day at night, you force yourself to acknowledge whether you treated it that way. When you commit to giving your maximum every day, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop letting feelings decide your effort. You work whether you feel motivated or not. You show up at full capacity even when you're tired, even when the results aren't immediate, even when no one would know if you gave less. That's where real discipline lives, in the moments when cutting corners would be easy but you refuse. Many people think they'll start working at full capacity when the stakes are higher, when they have more pressure, when there's more to gain. But if you're already behind, the stakes are already high. Every day matters now. You don't have the luxury of waiting for a dramatic moment to push harder. Your urgency has to be constant. And the best way to build that urgency is to demand proof from yourself each night that you gave everything you had. The value of this practice goes beyond the results you produce. It changes how you see yourself. When you can look back at your day and know you didn't waste it, your self-respect grows. You stop wondering if you're capable because you have daily evidence that you are. You start building trust with yourself, and that trust fuels even greater effort. You're no longer chasing motivation, you're acting from a place of self-responsibility. To make this work, you have to define what maximum effort looks like for you. It's not the same for everyone, and it's not the same every day. On some days, it might mean grinding through long hours of focused work. On others, it might mean having the hard conversation you've been avoiding, learning a new skill, or solving a problem that's been holding you back. The key is that you don't leave important things undone simply because they're hard or uncomfortable. Part of proving to yourself you gave your maximum is being willing to do the unglamorous work. It's easy to give full energy to the tasks you enjoy, but real maximum effort covers the things you'd rather ignore as well. It's handling the details, making the extra call, practicing the skill one more time, checking the work one more time before calling it done. Those extra steps separate someone who's moving forward quickly from someone who's just putting in average effort. Your nightly review should be brutally honest. Don't soften it with excuses. If you didn't give your all, admit it. The point is not to punish yourself, but to learn from it. Why didn't you give more? Were you distracted? Did you let minor problems steal your attention? Did you avoid the hardest tasks because they felt overwhelming? Identifying the reason allows you to correct it tomorrow. Without that awareness, you'll repeat the same mistakes without even realizing it. One of the benefits of this kind of self-check is that it prevents long stretches of wasted time. If you only evaluate your effort once a month or once a year, you might not notice how much you've been holding back until it's too late. A nightly review keeps you accountable in real time. It gives you a chance to course correct quickly before bad habits take root. This habit also builds resilience. There will be days when you push hard and still don't get the results you wanted. It's easy to get discouraged in those moments, but if you know you gave everything you had, you can end the day with your head high. You can remind yourself that effort compounds over time, even if today didn't show the payoff yet. And because you've built the habit of giving your maximum, you'll show up again tomorrow with the same energy. Another thing to understand is that giving your maximum every day eventually raises your definition of what your maximum is. The more consistently you operate at a high level, the more capacity you develop. What felt like your limit a month ago will start to feel normal. This is how growth works. You expand your range by using it fully, but you only get there if you keep pushing yourself to the edge of your effort. The nightly proof also keeps you from falling into the trap of good enough. Good enough is the silent killer of progress. It convinces you that you're doing fine when you could be doing far more. It lets you off the hook too easily. When you're aiming to prove maximum effort, good enough doesn't pass the test. You have to be able to say, without hesitation, that you couldn't have given more today without breaking something essential. To make the most of this practice, keep a simple record. Each night, write down whether you gave your maximum effort, and if not, why. This doesn't have to be long, just a few honest sentences. Over time, you'll see patterns. You'll notice what triggers your best days and what gets in the way. This awareness turns you into your own coach. You'll also find that your days feel more purposeful when you know you'll be reviewing them at night. You approach tasks differently because you don't want to end the day knowing you held back. This mindset shifts you from drifting through your day to driving it intentionally. You become more selective with how you spend your time because you want to be able to answer yes to that nightly question. Eventually, this habit will change how you start your mornings too. When you wake up, you'll think ahead to the evening and ask yourself, what will I need to do today to prove I gave my all? That foresight sets the tone for the entire day. You begin with the end in mind, and that keeps you aligned with what matters most. This is not about perfection. Some days will be stronger than others, but the goal is to eliminate the days when you know you could have done more and simply chose not to. Over time, those weak days become rare, and your strong days become the standard. The deeper reason this habit works is because it removes the gap between who you say you are and what you actually do. It's easy to call yourself hardworking or committed, but the real proof is in your daily action. When your actions consistently match your words, you build integrity with yourself. That integrity is one of the most powerful motivators you can have. When you live this way, you don't just chase results, you chase personal excellence. You stop measuring yourself only by what you achieve and start measuring yourself by the effort you bring. And the truth is, effort is the only thing you fully control. You can't control outcomes, but you can control whether you show up at your best. So tonight, when you lie down, ask yourself honestly, did I give my maximum today? Did I use my hours wisely? Did I push myself where I could have coasted? Did I choose focus over distraction? If the answer is yes, you can rest with pride. If the answer is no, use that truth to fuel you tomorrow.